Today, the food product we are going to talk about is known to everyone, and many of us are even a daily consumer of it. Its origin it can be traced back to the time period between 10,000 and 5000 BC in Mesopotamia. Though the story of its origin is unknown, it is said that through domestication of dairy animals around 2000 BC, this product became a household thing. So have you guessed it yet? How about a more concrete description? So today, the product we are going to talk about, it is made through the fermentation of milk and it has semi-solid texture. Now I hope you got it right this time. So yes, the thumbnail, it wasn't a clickbait. Today we are going to talk about yogurt and more specifically how to get it right both in the industry and at your home. And then this video I'm intending it as a teaser for my consultancy business. So if any of my viewers is interested in starting their own food venture, then they can contact me on the email that I have put in the description. Now that being said, welcome guys to another video of Let's Take Food, which is your dose into the world of processed food. And without any further ado, let's roll the intro. Now, all over the world, there are two microbial strains that are used in production of yogurt, irrespective of whether it is set, stirred, drinking, or frozen. And these are the Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. And if we talk about the yogurt that generally we Indians make at home, then the major strain in that is Lactobacillus lactis. And since yogurt is a fermented product, the role of these microbes is to ferment sugars to produce acid, which in case of milk is lactose, and lactic acid produced, it lowers the pH, which forces the casein protein that we have in our milk to gel, and therefore we achieve the semi-solid consistency. Now let's have a look at the process for the production of yogurt that I was able to find in one of dairy processing textbook. You can have a look here. But as a manufacturer, you need to keep this thing in mind that the conditions that I mentioned in this process, they are subject to change dependent on the strains, the inoculum percentage, even the temperature and the time of fermentation you are choosing. Now in this video, I'm just going to talk about two main processes, but as you can see, there are a number of steps and all of them, they have their own importance. However, in this video, I'll concentrate more on pasteurization and homogenization and their importance in this whole process. And then this first step, as you saw, the standardization step, it is also very important. However, I'm not going to go into it because, as I said, this is meant to be a teaser for the consultancy business. So who tells all the things at once, right? Alright, so let's start with homogenization. So in dairy, this process is intended to reduce the size of fat globules, thereby preventing separation of fat. And apart from this, it is necessary in yogurt because consumers, they do not like to see this kind of separation in the product, and then it will also adversely affect the mouthfeel of the yogurt because these fats, they are important for producing a smooth mouthfeel. And then, as I said, that the gel, it is formed by the casein proteins. A large globule, it can disrupt this gel, thereby weakening a gel which is already weak, and hence the yogurt will not set well. Moving on, the pasteurization step, it is aimed at removal of the microorganisms which may compete with our desirable microorganisms during the fermentation step. And then in addition to this, it also inactivates the lactoperoxidase system, which is a natural antimicrobial mechanism in milk. Further, pasteurization also eliminates oxygen, which is necessary as the desirable microorganisms we are using in our yogurt production, they are aerotolerant. And then it also instigates the production of a compound called formic acid, which is necessary in the growth of Lactobacillus bulgaricus. And then as you saw in the flow chart, the temperature is lowered, the microbes, they are added, and the fermentation takes place. Now I could talk about them, but I think it might take another video or so if I have to fully discuss it, and then you might just run away from this video and this channel saying that I am trying to lecture you. So I'm going to refrain from it.
समझ रहे हो? समझ रहे हो आप? समझ रहे हो ना?
Now the first and the foremost thing in getting a yogurt right at the industry is the standardization of milk that we are using. That means the right quantity of fat, the right quantity of proteins, lactose and whey protein. And then I have already talked about the rest of the steps. So I won't say about them much here. But then the question is, what is missing? So the missing part is a defect called syneresis, which in layman terms means waste separation, or the liquid that a consumer sees on opening a package at top of the yogurt. And first of all, I want to make it clear for everyone that it is no spoilage of any kind, but just a quality defect, and therefore cannot harm any consumer. And then, this being said, let's have a look at why it happens. Now, syneresis, it happens in the yogurt because the gel which is formed by the proteins, it is a weak gel, and therefore the water that is held between these solid connections, it oozes out as a result of temperature abuse or post-production handling. And then, to prevent this, as a manufacturer, you can use ingredients like pectin, starch and kappa carrageenan. On one hand, if you go for natural starches, which generally are devoid of E number or INS numbers, you can still maintain the clean label characteristic of your yogurt, which is not possible with ingredients like pectin and kappa carrageenan. So how do these three compounds they help in preventing syneresis? It's pretty simple. Whenever we cook a starch, we heat a starch, it absorbs the water, thereby increasing the viscosity of the medium it is present in, and hence it is going to prevent the separation. And as for pectin, it forms a strong gel in presence of calcium ion, which is readily present in milk. And then for kappa carrageenan, it can interact with kappa casein, thereby strengthening a weak gel. Further, the time of addition of these ingredients, it is dependent on the type of product you are producing, because if it is a drinking yogurt, you will add it post fermentation. However, it is just a set yogurt, then there's no other possibility than pre-fermentation. And then the time of addition, it can help you control the cost of your production. And lastly, one thing that is really important is maintaining the purity of the strains you are using in order to ensure that every batch you produce, it gives the same product characteristics and attributes. Now, coming to the yogurts that are made at home, there is a fascinating fact about them, which is that every household, they have a different strain that can be extracted from their household's yogurt, which means that some of them, they do not produce the right texture, i.e. some of them would be liquidy, the others may not have the desired flavor, or they produce too much of carbon dioxide whose effervescence you will feel when you consume that yogurt. Now, since all these defects, they arise from a strain, then the solution also, it lies into the strain. Now, to correct this problem, the first thing you can do is use the inoculum from any market brand you like. And even after doing this, you still do not get the solid like texture that is normally desired from a yogurt. Then you can add 1 or 2 spoons of skim milk powder, which will basically increase the solid content of your milk. And this has to be done while you are heating the milk, so that the skim milk powder, it dissolves well. And even if after doing this you still do not get it right, then replace your skim milk powder with the whole milk powder, which will basically improve the smooth mouthfeel of the yogurt. However, this mouthfeel thing, it won't be a big problem if you are using a full fat milk and a pasteurized milk, because those milks, they are already homogenized, so the fat globules are present in a smaller size. However, if you are buying from a local vendor, then you might see the mouthfeel as a major problem. And then if you are seeing a lot of water separation in your yogurt, then simply add 1% of cornstarch, that means 1 gram in 100 ml, while heating of milk, and properly dissolve it. And by this, you will be able to store it for a longer period of time without seeing this separation. And for the fermentation, you have to make sure that the place you are keeping milk for fermentation, it must have a temperature around 40 degrees, and it should be a clean place so that the milk is not contaminated by the microorganisms from the environment. That's all for today, guys. I hope you and your families are well and you are following the social distancing norms wherever you are. Now wait, before you go, do not forget to click the like button and subscribe to my channel.
कर दो यार, तुम्हारे पैसे थोड़ी ना कट रहे, कर दो.
And in comments, let me know what topic I should cover in the next video, and also let me know if this was too scientific so that I can mellow it down for the next one. So see you in the next one.